Hey everyone, it's Kai, and Lyrical Monasterio is coming out very soon, like this week soon. So we're gonna build a deck for every single ride line being released for this set. The card pool's out, it's on deck log, so it's just the perfect time. We've been doing this kind of stuff for the last few D sets, so we might as well, right? And let's be honest, Lyrical Monasterio actually looks quite cool this time. It's not like just your average Bermuda set, because there are not just mermaids. There's other things. Anythings, even dead things, right? Anything. So it's something for everyone, and I think it's actually like it's an easy deck, easy set to kind of build. A lot of these decks just kind of half build themselves, and you can just kind of add in some flex slots, change some numberings, and then I think you're done. Of course, there are some decks that are pretty crazy, and you'll probably see later on what I mean. But you know, 6 decks today, one for each ride line. The first deck we're going to reveal is the Cat Girl. She is a Doro Neru. Not very easy name to say in English, but yeah, she's basically the cat girl. Her gimmick is that she has songs and she sings them, right? What an idol does. It's amazing. But there's these order cards that are songs. You put them in the order zone, and then to sing them, you flip them face down, you get their effects for the whole turn. Now, what this means is that we'll look at the grade 3, for example, right? So the first effect is basically just once per turn, you counterblast one pick card in your order zone and put it face down, face up, order zone, put it face down, you get the effects, right? You sing it, right? And the second effect is when she attacks, and then there are 2 face down order zones in your order zone. You pick one of your face up orders, you sing it, so you put it face down, and then for this battle, this unit gets Sentinel Restrict, so your opponent can't call Sentinels from the hand. And yeah, you'll get the effects from the order that you sung. So from the song that you sung, so you get to sing twice, right? You get to sing twice. Now that's basically how you make a fat Vanguard column. You give it crit, and then you stand your other things. So we have orders like these, right? So for the example, this order, this is like a giant. She's like walking in a tree, well, not walking around a tree, I guess. So yeah, when this card is put into the order zone and your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher, you get to draw a card. Now, some of your effects get to just put cards into the order zone, not place them, but you know, some of these song cards, it doesn't matter if you place them or put them, you still get the effect, like this one, right? And then the second one is that in the order zone, when this card is sung, when you sing this card or whatever, your Vanguard gets a crit. So that's how you're getting a crit, right? That's pretty cool. And that's how you get like a Sentinel with crit. But the main song that we're looking at is just this card, and just literally staring out the window. But you know, when this card is put into the order zone, you can pick up to one of your you can pick one of your face down orders in your order zone and put it face up. You can. You don't have to, but you can. But the second effect is when this is sung, you pick regards equal to the number of face down cards in your order zone, and you stand them, and then your Vanguard gets 10k for each card that stood. So ideally, you have a lot of face down orders, like 3 or 4, and then you do your 2 columns of attacks, then you stand them again, and since you're standing like 4 cards, your Vanguard gets plus 40k. With a boost, and then with a Persona Ride, with a crit and Sentinel Restrict. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. That's one of the simplest victory conditions in Vanguard. Big columns, big crit. And it's not like your side columns are hitting weak, right? You have this card, she is a Equinoa. When you sing, like when this card attacks, right? If you sung a song this turn, she gets 5k, right? And that's not all. You can also counterblast one and discard a card and draw 2 cards. So you get basically filtering or just drawing more cards and trying to get like to your key cards that you want. But she gets 5k just for like singing a song. That is literally every single turn. So 15 by itself. But then you got something like this, right? This is just the easiest grade 1 to pull off. If you have 2 or more order cards in your order zone, it gets 5k. So during a turn. So she's like 13k, boosting like a 15k, that's 28 without a Persona Ride. Persona Ride is 38. Get to stand it again with your order, so that's I don't know, that's as free as it gets, right? That's so good. You also have another great card here. This is Elmel. She when you place this card in the Guardian Circle, you can Soul Blast 1, and you gain 5k shield for each order card in your order zone. That is pretty ridiculous. Just 4 order cards in your order zone. She gets plus 20k. Right? Does this sound right? It doesn't sound right? But it's true. So she's a fat shield. I put 4 of her just because she's that good. She is that good. And we also run 3 of this card. This is a counter charger. It's only 6k as well, so it's a bit low on the power scale. But when this card boosts, if you sung a song, if your Vanguard sung a song this turn, it gets 5k. And then if it's in the center column, so if it's a boosting your Vanguard, you get to countercharge one. So ideally you want one of this. You don't want too many, but she's 11k booster, boosting like your 13k, which is a 24. And then you slap a whole lot of power on that and make it even bigger. But the key thing is you get the countercharge to keep your draws, right? You need Counterblast 1 to draw, discard 1, draw 2, and this one needs Counterblast 1 to sing. So yeah, you get those off, and this kind of makes it slightly better. So overall, I think this, like, just putting these cards in the deck, the deck is built, right? The deck is built, and I think there's not much changes I do. Like, the one change I might make is just changing these order counts up, but I think some of these orders are just very straightforward, and, you know, the power one is quite nice, but, you know, crits and even more power is even better, right? Even better. So really strong deck. I really like this deck. I want to build this one. One, because Catgirls are meta right now, right? It's as meta as it gets. If you've been playing like Final Fantasy 14s, you just understand why it's so good. Moving on to the next deck, we have Clarissa. Now I think this deck is potentially quite strong. This is the Earns Correct deck, and her gimmick is quite simple, right? You have her second effect is just when this card attack hits something, you get to draw one, and then you pick one of your Earns Correct regards and give 5k. Now that sounds pretty unimpressive, right? Unimpressive. But she gets to search an order when she rides on top of the grade 2, which is this order. And basically, this order requires you to have 5 different types of Earns Correct cards on the field, Earns Correct units. And for your turn, for this turn, all your Earns Correct units gets 5k. And then if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher, your Clarissa on your Vanguard circle, well, actually, it doesn't need to be on the Vanguard circle, but she gets the following effect, which requires you to be on the Vanguard circle. So, continuous Vanguard circle, when this card attacks, you pick 3 cards on your opponent's side of the field, and you battles all of them. So it can be any Vanguard or Regard card, a unit to be precise. Well, you battle the cards on the circle, right? So you get around Fasada and things like that. It's basically Brawler. But you attack, you can attack 3 things at once. That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice, right? Because remember, when you hit, you get to draw 1. So if you hit all 3, you draw 3, and then give 5k 3 times to a bunch of things. So that's basically how the gimmick works. And then the rest of the deck, you literally just play 4 of every single Earns Correct card, because, you know, you don't have that many different Earns Correct cards. I think you have like just exactly 5. So you need all of them. You have this one, which is your Vanguard. You got this one, and this one, and this one, right? So overall, you don't have that many. So you just need all of them. And I think one of these ones is just one of them calls something, and this one stands. So you ideally want to just attack with this first. Then when your Earns Correct Clarissa hits something, you can counterblast 1, discard 1, and stand this. So you get 4 attacks off at least. So not just even a 3 attacker deck. It's actually a 4 attacker deck. So once you put all those cards in to maximize your consistency, one thing I have with this deck though is that I'm not sure how many draws I want to run. I might want to theoretically speaking, since when you ride the grade 2 with your Clarissa, you get to search an order, and then hopefully from the next few hits and drive checks, you will see another copy of this order, right? So you can continue putting on the pressure. But I'm not sure, maybe we want more draws later on or something like that, but that's still it's still something we need to consider. But yeah, I think getting 2 copies of this order would just basically win your game. There is like 3 cards if you do it my way, just putting 4 everything and 4 nulls into the deck. There's like 3 flex slots that you can put in, and I've just put in this card. And this card is Ilda, and when this card is put in the Guardian circle, you can pick one of your Earns Correct cards, regards, and then you bounce it back to your hand. So it seems good. It saves like front row cards that you need, or even if things are like, you know, like Leonards are attacking your back row, you can bounce it back. But again, like against like Leonards, when you're making a full field of Earns Correct, this will be up to, and like, if like Leonard's going, wow, that side column is very juicy, you want to attack 2 of them. You could literally just play one of this down, bounce one of them, and the attack doesn't hit. And you can even play 2 of them down and bounce, and then they just feel super sad, right? So this is a super awesome defensive option. You just run 3 of it, but like it requires basically no, how do you say it? Like no commitment, right? It requires no commitment. Just do it. Just do it, right? So overall, that is how I think Clarissa should be built. But you know, things can change, right? Things can change. Moving on, we have Alistair. So I think Alistair is actually not that strong. Unfortunately, she's also like one of those 3 attacker decks that are suffering right now. this is an idea from Kelvin, by the way, and I think he just went, let's just build White Wing Alasteel, right? Because some of the Black Wing effects are nice, but mostly the White Wing cards are just superior overall, right? Overall. Her White Wing is just, Alisteel's White Wing is just, it gets 5k in a crit, so that's kind of okay. You know, you have some crit pressure on your Vanguard circle. But the key card to this deck is actually this grade 1. So this grade 1 is when it comes into play, you can counterblast 1, and for every 3 odd cards on your field, you pick one of your regards and it gets 5k in a crit. Now the crit is the important part. You can kind of do crit pressure like that, right? So if you have a full field of just of odds, then you know your side columns both get a crit, your Vanguard gets a crit, you're basically controlling them for 4 damage, or even less sometimes. That's pretty nice. You literally only run like 2 of these grade 2s, and that's just, you can literally do whatever you want with those slots. But most of all, yeah, you just grab cards from your, every turn you grab a card from your bind zone, add it to your hand. Unfortunately, if you pop a trigger in there, then there is a grade 1 that can fix that for you. I think is it a grade 1? No, I think it's a grade 3, sorry. I think it's this one. Yeah. This one lets you pick one of your trigger units, and then it gives it +1 grade. So that saves you from like just losing straight up. And she also has like a, I mean, she has extra shield. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But apart from that, when you enter your final turns, right, you can activate her effect. Is it Elkale's effect? And it basically just put this unit into the bind zone and draw a card. And then for this turn, basically, well, until the end of your opponent's next turn, you just get both effects. You just get both white and dark and black effects. White Schwartz effect. So that's kind of nice. And then we run this card just to get a Persona Ride. There's really nothing else to run. You do get like basically a +1 hand every turn. You don't really use much counterblast as well. So yeah, just grab Persona Rides and win, right? So that's pretty much it. Nothing really special. Nothing really crazy about this deck. Just crit control, and then at the end when you're about to pop off, just pop an Elquill and then -5k your opponent, and also get a crit and things. So yeah, nice. Another deck that is unfortunately suffering from the 3 attacker syndrome is Wisteria. I actually do kind of like this deck, but it's very Zorgerish, and it doesn't really, how do you say it? It mills very, very hard. So Wisteria, she basically gets to abuse jewels, right? You see these 2 orders, they're like red jewel and blue jewel kind of thing, and then, you know, one gives 5k, and the other one gives lets you counterblast 1 and draw 2 and discard 1. Key thing is they both go to soul, and then her effect lets you just soul blast that specific order out to be able to gain effects like +15k and your opponent can't intercept. Or the nice one is you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, call 2 of them in open circles, and then put the rest of the bin, and then they both get 5k. All right, so you basically get to make a field very easily, and the power lines are quite decent. The only problem is that you only get 3 attacks, and since if you abuse that second effect to keep them building field, then you will deck out, right? The cool thing is though, you also get to draw a lot of cards because, you know, this card draws 2. When you play it on turn 2, you get to draw an extra card as well, and then the ride line lets you search for that specific card as well. So you can kind of just get a nice draw, and then things like this, when you play one of those jewels, you get to also draw a card. So yeah, that's just a lot of drawing. So your hand will be big, your field should be okay, but unfortunately your deck will be very, very small very quickly. You'll probably just lose to deck out most of the time. And yeah. Now this is a key guy, this cat girl, very, very good looking. Yeah, so when you play like the red order, and your Vanguard is the grade 3 Wisteria, this gets 10k, so it gets some nice power, then you get to play another order this turn. So you can literally play that same order, or you can play the blue order and give more power. So that's pretty nice. Adding extra power is always good. But the problem is, again, you know, you don't multi-attack, so your attacks are very easily planned out, and you kind of lose. That's why you're also running 12 crit, well, not 12, 11 crit, right? 11 crit with the order, over trigger, because you don't really need draws in this deck, because like Zorga, you build a field pretty easily, and then you get to also draw a bunch of cards, so that's pretty, you just don't need draws in this deck at all. Now, I know some people like to run a lot of the grade 2s, because her second effect is on the Guardian Circle. For each 2 jewels in your drop zone, it gets 5k. So she can get defensively pretty big. But the problem with this deck is not defense. It is actually offense. So I'm actually running this kind of harpy girl, right? Because what she does is when she is placed on the rear guard circle, you pick two orders in your drop zone with the same name. And then, or 2 dual orders in your drop zone with the same name. Put one into your soul and put one on the bottom of your deck. So this kind of can help you power up your Vanguard's effect. So you pick the one you want to put in. But then she puts one to the bottom of the deck. So you can maybe get 1 extra turn of living, depending on how you do it. Right? It's a bit of a long shot, but it also builds soul, so that's kind of nice. And yeah, that's just how it is. Unfortunately, I feel like this deck is a bit weak just because it's a 3 attacker deck, but she looks nice. She looks nice, right? You get to rush pretty quick. If you are a Zorga player, this is kind of Zorga, except with girls. With lots more girls. So, yeah. Moving on, we have Felty Rose. Now, I know a lot of people like Felty Rosa. I'm not so much of a whole big fan. You know, I'm not a huge fan of Felty Rosa. Her gimmick is that she gets to when she drive checks a ghost unit, she can call it and you can counterblast one and get another drive check. And yeah, I mean that's cool, right? That's cool. Bear in mind though, she has to call to an open slot. You can't keep on calling over things and then getting a billion drive checks. But yeah, a lot of these ghosts always just disappear anyway, right? We've got Ingrid. At the end of the battle, she goes to the bottom of the deck, so empty slot confirmed. This one, Anarize, she goes to Sol actually, so that's cool. But she's only 12k. Keep in mind, some of these ghosts have some weird power lines, right? Weird power lines. This one is a battle door effect. So she's kind of cool. She's 13k. When you call it from the when it's called on the field, not from hand, like any other way, right? Even if you call from the drop zone or something like that, as long as it's not from hand, ideally it's from the deck, right? Your opponent has to your opponent calls cards to the Guardian Circle, they have to call 2 or more cards. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, one thing you have to be careful about this deck though is that if you're not able to empty your zones, they get stuck there forever, and then Felty Rosa becomes very vanilla. So let's say you run like a bunch of these cards, right? And you're like, wow, I called 2 of them from my previous drive check. Next turn, you have to find a way to get rid of them, which is basically, you probably have to play like an Ingrid over them, or an Anarize over them, or otherwise, you're not doing anything. You're not, so you have to be very, very careful what you call. So that's why this one is only at 2. This one is only a 2 because there's not a good way to get rid of it, right? At least with 2s you can intercept, right? So like with her, this one is Eleonora. She can go back to the top deck. Soul Blast 2, get 15k, and at the end of battle she goes to the top deck, and you can call her again. So that's pretty cool, right? But she's a little 2, so you can intercept with her, and that's how you can get rid of her. And then we also run like 2 copies of just this 5k shield. So this is basically a 10k shield. This is basically a 10k shield. And when it's called out, at least you get some value, right? 12k, you're not really hitting anything, any decent numbers, but you can intercept with that, and that's pretty good. Now, I know some people run this grade 2 where when it's called, not from your hand, I think, you get to put it into Soul and then draw a card. It's kind of, I personally feel, and I think Kelvin also felt that it was pretty low value, because right, if you get it off Felty Rose, you're like, oh cool, I can see one and draw a card, but this deck, although it gives some advantage to this deck, which you kind of do want because you lack advantage cards, we don't think it's good enough, right? Just that small amount of advantage doesn't mean you're going to win the game. So you might as well just put on more defensive options or just more shield, right? An extra 5k shield is pretty much an extra card in your hand, unless you drew a trigger, right? So this can kind of do the same thing. It's a 10k shield, which is an extra card, but it can also attack that turn. That's kind of fills up your ghost slots. And lastly, I think this is one of the most important ghost slots in the deck. Just when you during the battle phase, it's in the back row rearguard circle. When you call a ghost unit into the same column, basically. Well, no, it's not even the same column, right? If you just call it anywhere during the battle phase, this unit can stand. So it's basically a reusable boost, basically a reusable boost, which is pretty cool. So if your front row would just be empty, you call again, oh, stand again, extra AK boost, that's nice. And you can put triggers on it, so you can keep on boosting, or because your front row is going to be empty, right? So this is basically where all the triggers are going to go, and then when you call the ghost in front of it, that's how it benefits from the triggers, and that's how it is. And then I think lastly, there's a grade 1 here, which is just another ghost. You have to be careful with this one. When this unit is placed on the rearguard circle, if you have another ghost in your rearguard circles, pick one of your rearguards and it gets 5k, so you can pick itself. It doesn't have to pick another one. You can pick itself, and then it gets 5k, hits 13. That's kind of nice. You can give power somewhere to make it hit better numbers. But just bear in mind, it is a grade 1, so it's kind of hard to get rid of if you have to kind of play over it again. Or you just move it back to boost, right? So at least they have that function versus like the grade 3. But yeah, you have to kind of be careful with it when your field is full. But that's why we're only running 3. In terms of your trigger lineup, we are running like 7 draws, because there's not really much advantage here. You can make a lot of multi-attacks, right? So you might as well just run more draws with less crit. So that's how we do it. That's Felty Rose. Lastly, we have Kyrie. Now this is from the TD, and one of the biggest problems with Kyrie is that her ride line is not very good. It doesn't generate that much crazy cool advantage. So actually, this is pretty much Knack's deck, right? Knack revealed a deck that was really amazing. I think it's really cool, where you combine basically every single archetype into Kyrie. You still run your key Kyrie cards, but it just does everything. If you look at Wisteria's ride line, her ride line caps at grade 2, right? Her grade 3 doesn't require the grade 2, so her big effect is from like grade 1 and grade 2. The grade 2 gets you the order that draws, and then you just play the order. Then you draw 3 cards, and you feel good, right? You feel good, and then you just ride into Kyrie and do your thing, and then that's kind of better than the Kyrie ride line. And this is a deck that can do heaps of attacks. Because if you look at, like, let's look at Kyrie's skill, right? Kyrie's first skill is that when it attacks, you can Soul Blast 1, and then you can bounce 2 cards on your field back to your hand. But then her second effect is that when at the end of the battle that she attacked, if you Persona Row this turn, you can call 2 cards from your hand to a front row and a back row position. So it's kind of like Olivia, right? It's how you make multi-attacks. But there's other cards that make empty slots. Right, there's other cards that make empty slots. Her other support is this one is Eris. This one is when it's boosted, and your Vanguard is Kyrie, and counterblast 1 and call a card from your hand to a empty rearguard circle. So that's how you can, like, you make empty circles, and this card can make extra attacks, and that's pretty nice. But you know, there are other ways to make empty circles, and that is with ghosts, right? Remember when we talked about Felty Rose, they need ghosts to make empty slots so Felty Rose can call things? Well, Kyrie also needs empty slots too, to be able to call things. So, you know, putting Ingrid in the deck, making extra slots, randomly you can get a counter charge. It's not really confirmed, but you know, just 13, 15, like plus 5k put on bottom end. That's a good number. That's a good number. And you have the Persona right? So that's 28. That's a great number. It's a great number. And you make extra slots for Eris to put anything down on that slot to be able to push more damage. That's great. You know, this also makes an empty slot. This is great as well because you're running ghosts. So, you know, if you randomly call a ghost down the stand and get boosts, and this is where you can put your triggers on. So yeah, that's pretty good. And then when you combo like Eris with a bounce with Shire, this is like a when it's placed on the rearguard circle, you can Soul Blast 1, and then you can call the top card of your deck onto an empty rearguard circle, or you can add it to your hand. But if you add it to your hand, you discard a card. And she's only 3k. She's a 3k boost, which is not strong. But, you know, 10 plus 3 hits numbers with a Persona Ride that's 23, and you know, this can fill up make extra attacks as well. I'll show you a video on how to like easily just do random multiple attacks. But that's basically, this is a really cool deck. Really cool deck. You're combining everything into this one deck. You know, you got the draw power. You got the Kyrie to make the multiple attacks, and you got the support, and then you got the Ghost to make the empty slots. So yeah, I really like this deck. This was kind of a cool hybrid deck that I saw, and I really want to showcase it. But it's also probably one of the stronger Kyrie builds out there right now, simply because attacking up to 7 times is actually quite good. This is the highest amount of multi-attacks I think you can do with Lyrical Monasterio so far. You usually get around 6, but 7 is possible depending on what you can top deck. So I'll show you the video on how to do the top decks. This is a combo video, and just take a look and it should be pretty simple, right? So this is how you do lots of multi-attacks with Kyrie and the ghosties, pretty much. So to start off with, you need a field that at least contains one Ellis and a ghost that disappears from the hero field. So here we've got Ingrid. After her attack, she can go to the bottom of the deck, so she makes an empty slot. So you attack with her first, and then she disappears. Let's just put her away here. And now you attack with Ellis, right? And Ellis, her effect, you CB1, and then you can call a card from your hand if you have an Kyrie on the Vanguard circle, right? So you'd pick basically anything. Let's say you call like another Ellis down, right? That's your second attack, and then your third attack can be like that, right? So that's pretty cool. 3 attacks already. Now your Vanguard attacks. Bear in mind, this is all in a Persona Ride because Kyrie's second skill has to be in Persona Ride, so they're all hitting at least decent numbers. So your Kyrie attacks, so first they'll activate, you bounce 2 of your front rows. So like this one and this one. So you make empty slots. The key thing is empty slots, right? So she attacks, you do the drive checks, and then you use her second skill. So at the end of the battle, you Persona Row this turn, you pick 2 cards from your hand and call them to a front and a back row position, right? So you'd pick her, you pick an Ellis, and then you'd pick a Shia, right? And you place the Shia over the Nami because this doesn't require you to place over open slots. So you do that. Now you activate Shia's skill, which will call the top card of your deck into an open slot. So you'd call the top card here into this last open slot, and bam, you have more attacks. And if you call a ghosty, she disappears after her attack. So then you can use Ellis's skill again to do another attack and call something else, right? So that is all up. That's a maximum of 7 attacks. If your top deck from Shia you call is not a ghosty like that, if it's just a normal card, then unlucky, right? You only get 6 attacks. But again, even something like a 5k trigger here, you're hitting 15k with the Persona Ride. So that is pretty cool. One thing for sure is that if you call a ghosty, this unit stands. So Ines is pretty cool. You don't exactly always need her, but you know, she's just always nice. You can put powers from triggers there, and then she stands and get extra power, and that's really, really nice, right? So that's how you do multi-attacks with Kyrie, and you can do a lot of them, and you can just kind of tinker the combo any way you want to still get a decent amount of attacks, but it's not hard. It's not hard. All right, so yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What are your most interested decks from this set? Personally, I think I was the most interested with the Cat Girl, with Lolo, I can't say the name, and also Clarissa. But no, after seeing like Nax's Kyrie build, I was super impressed by this. That's why I featured it, but I actually want to test this deck a lot because it's just so amazing. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. These are still preliminary builds, of course. We'll update them as time continues, but yeah, these are where I think this is a good starting point for a lot of these decks, and you know, I'm sure you guys can also think of some great improvements too. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next video. All right, bye.